I really don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy, but Adam Silver must think we're stupid. For months and months and months on end, we've been trying to figure out in what world would Luka Doncic get traded to the Los Angeles Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks not start any bidding war. They only talk to themselves. It was an inside job, and I think this confirms it. Now, am I upset that the Dallas Mavericks got Cooper Flag? No. I just think it's kind of crazy that it's so obvious that this was an inside job. You say the Dallas Mavericks are trading their 26-year-old superstar to the biggest market in basketball, who has a 40-year-old superstar who's going to be out of the league soon, and now you're getting the number one pick a few months later. There's no way this is just a coincidence. That's why part of me is like, what are we doing? You know, this doesn't feel like a coincidence at all. But set aside, I think the Dallas Mavericks are going to be phenomenal next year. I mean, Kyrie Irving is going to be out for majority of the year, so you're probably going to have to figure out who's going to be your starting guard and who's going to be in that guard rotation. But I would have to assume outside of the point guard position, the starting lineup will be Max Christie, Cooper Flag, Anthony Davis, and Daniel Gafford. Or maybe they put PJ Washington in that role for the first couple of games until Cooper Flag really figures it out. But this also adds to the lineup versatility that the Dallas Mavericks had when they initially traded Luka Doncic. You can have an extremely big lineup that just switches through everything with Gafford or 80 at the 5, PJ Washington, Cooper Flag, Najee Marshall, and a Max Christie. That's really good defensively. You also have a lot of size and athleticism with AD, Gafford, Lively, Najee, PJ Washington, and Cooper Flag. You have so much size, athleticism, and strength that there's no team that's going to be able to work with that. And the only concern I have is the floor spacing with this team, one, and just having somebody that can set up these plays for them. I don't think Cooper Flag is going to walk into the NBA as an offensive threat or as a serious offensive threat creating shots for himself. I do think he can be a good pick and pop big. I think he can get really good looks rolling downhill. I think he can be a really good cutter. But as for initiating offense for himself, I don't necessarily think he's there just yet. But Dallas was a contender when they were all healthy. They're even more dangerous now going into the playoffs next year. And this is great, man. Cooper Flag is in Dallas. You get another young potential superstar. Now, he hasn't played a game yet. I don't want to go too crazy and say Nico was right for trading Luka Doncic because we haven't seen a full game of Cooper Flag play yet. So I don't want to jump the gun necessarily. Now, we're going to talk about some of the other picks, and then we're going to get into the mock draft. The San Antonio Spurs got the number 2 pick. I don't necessarily know what they do with this pick because you have De'Aaron Fox. You have Stephon Castle, who just won Rookie of the Year, and you also have Devin Vassell. I don't know what you do because now it's like I would draft Dylan Harper and I would see what the league is thinking about with De'Aaron Fox, to be completely honest. I think De'Aaron Fox does have a win now type of mode, but you have to understand Victor Wembanyama's 21 or 22, either one. Stephon Castle's either 20 or 21, and Dylan Harper's 19. Their timelines fit perfectly together, and you have a chance to have 3 straight Rookie of the Years. When has that ever happened? And I think how people are scared of Dallas, they should be just as scared of San Antonio because now you have the building blocks to a really good core in Castle, Harper, and Victor Wembanyama. Now, if you have some switchable 3-point shooting wings that can rebound, run the floor, and switch, you're building a dynasty. And it's just crazy how the top 2 picks in the NBA draft went to the Western Conference. You have the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are going to be good for the next 7 to 10 years. The Houston Rockets, who are going to be good for the next 7 to 10 years. The Portland Trailblazers, who are really building something. The San Antonio Spurs. The Los Angeles Lakers, who are going to be good for the next 5 to 7 years with Luka Doncic. The Western Conference is going to continue to be fantastic. And it's like the rich get richer because you get the 2 best prospects in the draft. I think these 2 are by far the best prospects in the draft. And now one of these guys is going to go to a team that already has the generational superstar, and the pressure isn't necessarily going to be on them as much. And then the other one is going to a phenomenal defensive structure with guys with a bunch of veterans who've been in these moments before, is going to get tutelage from a bunch of different players. And the best part about it is both of these rookies are going to be expected to play winning basketball. The Dallas Mavericks and the San Antonio Spurs are going to be going into the next season looking to make the playoffs. They're going to be looking to make the playoffs, not the play-in, the playoffs. So the rookies are going to have a real opportunity to play veteran basketball at a high level the second they come into the league. And for the Philadelphia 76ers, man, wow. All season we were talking about how they could have fallen out of the top 7 and gave their pick to OKC. Instead, you jump into the top 3. That's fantastic. Get Jared McCain some help, because y'all know how I feel about Jared McCain. As for the 3 teams that were mocked to have the highest chances for the number 1 pick, this sucks. I'm sure you guys weren't banking on the NBA completely rigging this draft. I'm just playing for the people who are against the rigging stuff. I'm just playing. But this isn't great for neither one of these teams, I believe, because you don't have a building block in Utah, you don't have a building block in Washington, and you have a building block in Charlotte for sure. You just don't have a consistently healthy building block. So don't get me wrong, these are still really good picks, which I believe the Hornets were 4th, the Jazz were 5th, and the Wizards were 6th. You can still get some really good picks there. And I'm going to talk about the Wizards in just a second because I think they can get really interesting with that 6th pick. But it sucks to not have a pick in the top 3. That really sucks. As for the Washington Wizards, like I said, I've been hinting at this on other shows, the Hoop Talk podcast, Player's Choice. I always said if the Wizards fall out of the top 3, they can draft Kaman Maluach, move Alex Sarr to the 4, which is his preferred position, and move in Kaman Maluach to the 5, and then you could have a forward/center set with a lot of switching, athleticism, rebounding, length, with Bilal at the 3, Alex Sarr at the 4, and Kaman Maluach at the 5. Right there, you're building a really good defensive unit. And now it's just up to maybe Bub Carrington to take a leap, or you go out and find that scoring piece that you would need. I think Alex Sarr has a lot of potential as a scorer. I just don't think it's there yet. As for guys like the Toronto Raptors and the Brooklyn Nets, I think the Brooklyn Nets really sold this one just because they came into this draft for me thinking that they were going to have really good odds at getting the number 1 pick, and they fall all the way to 8. So maybe, just maybe, they could strike something at 8, which 8 is still a very good pick. Don't get me wrong. But if you are in a position to go get Cooper Flagg, even though the Jazz, Hornets, and Wizards didn't get these picks, you still would say that they put themselves in the best position possible to get a pick like that. And as for teams like the Portland Trail Blazers, the Atlanta Hawks, the Houston Rockets, the Toronto Raptors, connecting pieces. You know, you can go into the draft and go get guys like, I'm sure the Toronto Raptors are going to look at Carter Bryant, I believe his name is, because they just love lengthy, athletic, tall wings who can be very versatile on the offensive or defensive side. The Chicago Bulls need a big. I wouldn't be surprised if this was Derek Queen or if this was a Asa Newell. The Atlanta Hawks need a big as well. Wouldn't be surprised if this was Asa Newell, or they could trade back and go get a Thomas Sorber. The San Antonio Spurs, I would say, need some shooting. I would look at Liam McNeely very heavily. And the Rockets need some shooting as well. Wouldn't be surprised if this was a Kon Knipple pick here. Or Kasper Isiakochonis. Maybe him as well, because he's fallen down the boards just a little bit. Still very high on him. He has just fallen down a few ranks. So with that being said, let's get into the mock draft. All right. So I think Cooper Flagg goes to Dallas. I already talked about this earlier. This is the pick that we all know. You can scratch this right off. Same with the San Antonio Spurs with Dylan Harper. I also think the same can be said with Philly taking Ace Bailey. I think Ace Bailey learning under Paul George could be something that's very pivotal for what the 76ers could do in the future. Going forward, you're going to have a big three of Jared McCain, Tyrese Maxey, and Ace Bailey. That's very good offensively. I don't know what happens with Joel Embiid, so I'm going to stay off that topic. But Ace Bailey is going to be really good for the Philadelphia 76ers, and he can play off 2 high-level guards. So I think that's really good. This is where the draft starts for me. And I think the Charlotte Hornets take VJ Edgecombe here. I think he's the connector. The athleticism, the transition ability, the transition offense and defense, the pull-up shooting that's gotten a lot better. He's not that tall, but between LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller, there's a lot of length that can cover up for his height. So we're going to use VJ Edgecombe with the 4th pick in the draft here. Now, for the 5th pick with the Utah Jazz, this is where it gets interesting because they can go a lot of different ways. This is a team that's probably just going to go best player available. I don't know what they're going to do with Walker Kessler as of right now. I think Trey Johnson is a good pick, but I don't necessarily believe he fits what the Jazz are trying to do. So I'm gonna go Trey Johnson. I think he has the second highest upside, maybe out of everybody on the board. So I'm gonna go with him here. You guys know where I'm going. Every year, I feel like there's a lock once the lottery is carried out. Once the lottery is carried out, I think this is where I have my lock. Every year, I have someone locked to go to a team every mock draft until the draft happens. And this is Kaman Maluach to the Washington Wizards. If you guys don't understand, I talked about it when the video started. As for the New Orleans Pelicans, I'm going to go Jeremiah Fears here. I think he can play off ball next to Zion. I think he has an athletic gift that you just can't teach. I think he gets downhill pretty well, and I think he's a really good shooter. I'm going to have him go here. As for the Brooklyn Nets, I'm going to give him Derek Queen. This is a guy that has a really low floor but a very high ceiling. I think this is somebody you can take a swing for. Because if he becomes a superstar, you look like a genius. As for the Toronto Raptors, I'm just going to go with Penn's guy, Carter Bryant. We're going to go here. As for the Houston Rockets, I think Kasparas Yakuchonis is the pick here. You get some shooting, some secondary ball handling, some playmaking. This is definitely stuff the Houston Rockets need to work on. Just being a good shooter, off-ball player, and secondary playmaker, can attack advantages really well and can make some shots off the dribble. He hasn't been as great to finish his season, but I do think playing with a level of this defense and somebody at the 5-man spot who can make solid passes, I'm going to go Kasparas Yakuchonis here at the number 10 pick. Now for the Portland Trailblazers, they can go Asanul, and you can have a starting lineup of Scoot, Shaden, Denny, Asa, and Klingon. They're going to run up and down the floor. They're going to block shots. They're going to get rebounds. They're going to bully you. That's where I'm going to go. I think the Portland Trailblazers have to solidify their 4th spot, and I think Asanul does that. As for the Chicago Bulls, this is where I think a center really comes into play. I don't know if I will move out of this spot. They definitely don't need a guard. I'm going to take Rasheer Fleming. I think this is probably the guy that's going to end up taking Patrick Williams minutes, because everything you thought Patrick Williams would be coming out, I think Rasheer Fleming can be with his length, strength, transition play, outside shooting. He can naturally be Aaron Gordon, but just take the athleticism down a couple of notches, though. Take the athleticism down a couple of notches. Somebody that can knock down open shots, switch on the perimeter, take really big advantages of mismatches and rebound. That's where I'm going to go with Chicago. I'm going to take Rasheer Fleming here. As for the Atlanta Hawks, I don't necessarily think they're in the position to be like, oh, we have to get the best player available. I think you just get somebody that fits. And I think Thomas Sorber is that guy. But then no. I'm going to take Con Knippel for Atlanta. I think he's somebody that can play off of Trae Young extremely well. And then here, I'm going to give the San Antonio Spurs Colin Murray-Boyles. Once again, another guy that can switch on the perimeter, play at the low block, rebound. He drives really well. He's not the best shooter. He's also not the best free throw shooter from what I've seen. I don't have the stats right in front of me. But I do think a defense with him, Stephon, and Wemby, that builds the core. And now you have your offense with Dylan Harper and Victor Wembanyama. I don't even know what they do with De'Aaron Fox. I truly don't. I truly don't. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. The draft lottery has just commenced. So now we're going to be 100% into draft content. I'm so excited for this. You guys know this is my bag. This is how I started YouTube, talking about the draft. This is my bag. Like, I'm here. I'm excited. And if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.